Good morning. I am Jaws, and we are going to be doing a podcast, apparently.
And I'm Autumn.
And I'm Sophie, and today is Friday, the 22nd of November. It's 40 degrees outside, and today we will be talking about Cecilia Vicuña and the poem The Tomato.
So, to start off, we're going to focus on the differences between them, namely the two biggest differences, the fact that one of them is poetry and the other is performance art. So that already kind of sets them very far apart. They are separate mediums entirely.
Yeah, and then we're going to bring them kind of back together and talk about, like, how they both talk about kind of, like, big emotions and just, like, each artist's, like, way of, like, portraying emotions.
And then we're going to talk about how Cecilia Vicuña is very much attached to the color red as the tomato, because tomatoes are red. So, the differences between Cecilia Vicuña as an artist, and the poem, The Tomato.
Yes, as separate entities with their own points to get across. Namely, I think there's a difference in the way they portray and convey anger, because Cecilia Vicuña is very much possessed by a sort of hopeful anger, an anger out of righteousness for, the good of the world and the good of the future. Meanwhile, the tomato is kind of a bitter, spiteful anger. It goes from idolatry and some kind of love for something to petty, bitter spite by the end.
Now you're saying the word bitter, and I'm like, what does a tomato taste like? Bitter.
Wait a minute.
I don't think tomatoes are bitter.
Oh, well, I think tomatoes are bitter.
I was like, what kind of tomatoes are you eating?
They're like the acidic. That's just me. I'm a tomato hater, honestly.
Oh, tomato hater.
Yeah. But, anyway, in the
That
tomato, I'm who they're talking about in the tomato.
Yeah, it's actually you.
I interpreted the poem The Tomato, as,
Do you understand the meaning of the tomato?
a metaphor for, a toxic relationship. And, there's a lot of things in there that, what was the... I feel like I'm going to say it wrong. I've never felt so violated. That's not right. What's the quote?
I have never had a fruit to... Oh, what? Dang, now I can't remember it. It was... Never has a fruit stolen every rebellion from me like this, or something along those lines.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, no fruit has ever robbed me of every rebellion.
Yeah.
But, having things like that, it very much seems like it's anger towards a person.
Yeah.
And
they're just, replacing, a metaphor with it, because they don't want to, directly say it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like that thing when in middle school when you're talking about your crush, but you name them juice box.
Yeah.
So nobody knows that you're actually talking about them with your friends.
I'm like, oh my gosh, bananas walking down the hall.
Bananas walking down the hall.
See, I agree with you in terms of it being a relationship, but I kind of see the tomato as a self-sabotaging story. Mm-hmm. It's this idolatry, this love, and then it just, slowly poisons them from the inside out until it's, again, talking about nothing has ever robbed me of every rebellion like this. It's anger at someone who has done nothing to provoke that anger. It's... The best way I can put it is you're angry that somebody is so nice and you feel like they shouldn't be, so you bite back and drive them away.
And I feel like that's can be a very strong feeling, and especially for the people who are I don't see. I feel like it's an anxiety and an anxious attachment response.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel the way it's written, the way anxiety kind of really fills your head with a whole bunch of jumble. The tomato is so dense with lines and words. I feel that kind of mimics the way anxiety is kind of in your head, and how it's just if you focus on every like little detail or like every like poem, I mean every line in the poem, it's hard to like, oh, like I don't understand. Look at it from like a bigger picture, like it's better to understand.
Yeah.
I will not lie, if somebody read this to me rapid fire, I think it would just feel like a panic attack, actually.
Yeah.
Because when you read it slowly, like read through, this was definitely written by an overthinker, is what I'm trying to say. They sat and they stewed like a tomato with these ideas in their head and just let them simmer.
Yeah.
Like a tomato on a windowsill.
Exactly. They just let this sunbake in their head until it poisoned them. This is obsession, is what it is, I think.
And I feel like that's a big contrast towards Cecilia Vicuña. Because one thing, like, I feel like is a theme of how I was saying, like, in the tomato is, like, written by someone who just, like, let it simmer and boil over. But I feel like Cecilia Vicuña, most of the time, is just, like, this is what just came to my head right now, and that's what I'm letting happen. That's what I'm putting on the paper. I'm not going to second guess myself. It's what came to my mind, so therefore that's what I'm going to paint, make, spin.
Her style seems very like loose and just like what like in the moment, which kind of like I remember like the like documentary we kind of watched about her stuff. She did a lot with like the ocean, and I feel like that she like kind of like flows like the ocean, or just like she's and her
like
style's mirrored in what she does.
And like working with the ocean, you don't really have much control.
Yeah,
because you just have to like work with what nature gives you, because it could at any moment completely wash away because you're making art in the ocean.
To play off of that, the whole going with the flow and, you know, kind of taking what's given and working with that, and, you know, the idea of letting go. A lot of Cecilia Vicuña's art, I'd like to point out, is also ephemeral art. It does not exist for a long time. It exists, Cecilia Vicuña says it herself, the art is completed when it disappears. It is an act of letting go. And to play back into, you know, the talk about rage and anger, it is an act of letting go, where again the tomato just kind of sits on the feeling until it sours, you know?
Okay, so, like, before we started recording, you were saying how a big similarity of the two pieces was that anger. And, but they both have anger, but then those angers are yet similar in their emotion, but then also different in the type of anger that it is.
I would almost argue that the emotions are identical, but the tomato goes about them more procedurally, where it goes from, you know, hope and this kind of joyful tone about something to later falling into anger, and the intention feels different also. This is anger at someone. This is spite. The writer feels like they've been slighted, I think. Meanwhile, Cecilia Vicuña kind of embodies both that hope and that joy and faith in the future, while also embodying that rage, that motivation to keep pushing forward. The intention here, I think, is for a better reason.
Yeah, like I remember reading back and like some of the stuff about Cecilia, and of like over the time she like one of her phrases, like your rage is your gold, like became like a really popular phrase during like I forget which movement it was, but it was like
It was a Chilean revolution, I think.
I just thought that was really cool, because like
Was that recent? I looked that up.
yeah, because she was like her poetry was like very, I guess, like controversial and like more erotic than like people were like used to, and I just think it's like definitely like inspiring. Like she didn't stop, she like kept going.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people like at that point in time, like I probably would have been like, okay, I'm gonna tone it down, I'm gonna stop, but yeah. And I feel like as an artist that'd be really cool to like have a phrase of like your own poetry become popular and just like kind of blow up everywhere.
See, I very much agree with that, in the way that I agree that Cecilia Vicuña is a revolutionary, both like in the actual art scene. She did kind of like revolutionize her own art. Like, this was completely new to the scene. But at the same time, she's a revolutionary in the political sense. She's fighting for something. Or maybe fighting against something, rather.
Yeah, most of the stuff I'm looking about of Your Rage is Your Gold is from, like, recent, within, like, the past maybe 5 years.
Oh.
So, like, this is mostly new.
So she's an exceptionally modern contemporary artist as
Yeah,
well.
definitely.
This is not like an old revolution. This is something new that she is spearheading, still probably.
Yeah, because interview from, like, tate.org.uk was an interview from last May 2nd, 2023 about, like, Your Rage is Your Gold. And, yeah, she had an installation at Tate Modern in 2022. So she's, like, she is fairly, like
recent.
yeah.
Like, still going.
And so, like, yeah, I feel like definitely it's been all the thing to where I feel like also she encourages the use of, like, her stuff in a revolutionary sense. So it could be, like, to have your rage be your power.
Yeah. To kind of, like, keep people to, like, keep hope or, like, keep, like, pushing on. To, like, not get silenced. Because she's, like, with her artwork, like, she would, like, she didn't stop, like, she kept going.
Yeah.
Despite the circumstances.
To tie that back into the tomato again, with the tomato, it is a defeated anger. It is like the end of the poem is a concession. It's giving up. It feels like finality. Whereas Cecilia Vicuña, despite having, as you said, been around for 5, probably more years in the art scene, definitely more years actually.
Yeah, it says that she's been an artist since the 60s.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
But here's the thing, her work still feels like it's just beginning. Her art and her work feels a lot like her philosophy. It feels young and hopeful and like it's fighting for something better. Where again, the tomato seems like, it seems very defeated, like it's given up almost. So, just a quick recap. We have already spoken on how rage is handled differently in both. How in the tomato it feels like it's giving up, like it's defeated, but how Cecilia Vicuña feels like she's still pushing onward, even now. We've talked, of course, about the obvious differences, like one of them being ephemeral performance art and the other being, a physical poem, which I think also kind of fits with the idea of, the theme of talking about the tomato sitting and simmering and becoming more hateful over time, whereas Cecilia Vicuña is very much more apt to just let things wash away.
Yeah.
So what more do we have to talk about, would you say?
I guess just, like, maybe, like, noticing, like, the two, like, little, like, symbols with, like, the color red and, like, in each.
Yeah, because Cecilia Vicuña put the, like, I didn't know exactly what she put in the water, if it was, like, red pigment or red dye.
Yeah.
I assume it was, like, nature
Yeah, I was like, is that nature
Yeah, like
safe?
biodegradable.
Yeah,
like,
but, like, she put, like, the whole point was that she put the red in the water, and the piece was to watch the red wash away, and which, like, the color red can have, like, many different symbolisms.
yeah.
Like, it can be, like, wrath, anger, and then also in, like, a hopeful way, to where it could mean, like, fortune. And, like, in the, like, for, like, Chinese New Year, that's, like, you could gift people money in a red envelope, because, like, that's, like, the good luck for them. And so, like, there's many different approaches, and I feel like Cecilia Vicuña's work uses red as more of the like, hopeful side.
Yeah, like the passion of like
Mhm.
her passion for like change.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And, like, just thinking about it just now, it can be, like, kind of a symbol for, like, the circle of life in a way. Of, like, the red symbolizes the blood in the body and putting it back into the ocean to, like...
to like,
like
keep
a
the cycle going.
Yeah, like a full
Yeah.
circle moment of, like...
to close the loop, so to speak.
Yeah.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. But yeah, I think it's cool. Like she uses like a lot of natural stuff, like the red wool. I think I
yeah.
assume, and like she'd like kind of like pull it apart and like put it in with like the grass, like the grassy like meadowy parts, and just like lets like the wind just kind of like take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was one where she used, like, I think more of that same wool and, like, looped it around a bunch of people, like, wearing it as a necklace, and they all just floated in the water together, which, like, that's one of the things to where, like, a lot of her performance work is really strange.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, I'll just float here with my wool necklace.
In the water.
Counterpoint, that brought to mind some folklore, actually. If you've ever heard of the red string of fate, it's the idea that everybody is kind of connected in this way, and Cecilia Vicuña's use of red wool and red yarn specifically brings this image to the forefront of my mind. And she also talks about how, you know, the ocean is basically the mother of all things, that it is feminine, that it has, you know, birthed a society, so people floating in the water, connected by a red string of fate, sitting in the ocean, it's a very clear symbol of, like, the brotherhood between humanity as a whole. Similarly, it also brings to mind another little bit of, not necessarily folklore, but an old sailor's trick. Red is a color that is associated with the future, specifically when it comes to sailing. There is an old saying, to predict the weather, red skies at morning, sailors take warning. Red skies at night, sailors delight. Because basically the chemical makeup of the atmosphere changes the color of the sunrise and sunset. It is a divination, almost.
So now I know whenever I the next time I become a pirate,
Yeah.
gotta watch out for the sky.
Yep.
But no, like, that made me think of, like, a lot of people have, like, water births. And so, like...
I feel like there's a very visceral, again, like a very visceral theme of, like, birth and death and rebirth and brotherhood and just
And
humanity
tomatoes.
kind of being one thing.
And tomatoes.
And tomatoes.
I feel like Cecilia's work is like very like soul stuff.
Yeah.
Like she can like feel it. Like it's like a soul connection. And I feel like that's where like everything ties back in with like the red string of fate and everything. Everything's all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Oh my gosh.
Ah, mind blown.
To play back on the whole issue of the tomato is also very singular, if you notice. It doesn't talk about anything else. It's just the tomato. It is...
It's a selfish tomato.
It's very selfish. It's very self-centered, isolationist. It focuses on a single thing, where Cecilia Vicuña's work kind of is all-encompassing. You know, omniscient. But then, again, the tomato is just the tomato. It is
On a
one
windowsill.
thing. It's a tomato on a
Tomato
windowsill.
on a
In the sun.
windowsill.
It's a lonesome tomato.
What a loser.
Darn, now we're dunking on the tomato.
Yeah.
Kerploosh.
Poor tomato, honestly.
Unfortunately, this was a podcast and you couldn't see me make my 3-point dunk.
It totally happened. It definitely happened.
Yeah, we are on a basketball field as we speak.
We are.
I'm dribbling down the court as we speak. I'm about to make a slam dunk.
I don't know how to play basketball. I'm on the sidelines. I'm watching. I'm the ref.
I trip over my shoelaces. Face plant.
Surprised you're not wearing any shoes. How did you trip? The court is the ocean.
The court is the ocean. The ball is the tomato. Joke's on you. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Everything is connected.
Full circle.
The shoelaces I tripped over, they were the color red.
They were the wool that Cecilia
Yeah.
Vicuña uses in all of her pieces.
Everything is connected. It's all...
The tomato is the basketball. The court is the water.
Now I'm actually having philosophical thoughts about this. How dare you?
So anyway, back to
serious time.
So we talked about anger and
Like performance art
Yeah.
versus poetry.
The nature of ephemeral art and letting go, I'd say.
yeah, and I feel like there could also be like themes of grief in there as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of themes of death and rebirth.
Yeah, and I saw while I was looking up Cecilia Vicuña to see how the timeline of the Your Rage is Your Gold thing, I saw a piece that was like, it was just a painting that she did that was in honor of somebody in her life who had passed away. And so like I feel like a lot of her spirituality that she includes in her art is like partially based in grief.
Yeah, I feel like the rage is your gold. I feel like your sorrow is your gold.
Yeah.
Could be like another
Your
one.
rage is your gold, your sorrow is your silver.
Yeah. Oh,
my
that's a good
gosh.
one. But
Put that on a tote bag.
I will agree. I will agree that Cecilia Vicuña, I think, while also being an incredibly hopeful artist, does focus a lot on grief, because she does talk a lot about the cycle of death and rebirth. Her art is completed when it's destroyed and disappeared. She says that her life will be completed when it's over. And I think that's also very hopeful, in the way of it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, and like in that documentary they were like, what is your biggest inspiration? And she was like, I think death. And it's like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, because like we were like, wow, that's such like a badass thing to say.
Yeah.
Just like, what's your biggest inspiration? Dying?
That's
Yeah.
metal. That is so metal.
Definitely.
So what have we learned here today?
I think we've learned that Cecilia Vicuña is something of an inspiration, just in general. No matter what walk of life you're part of, I think you can find something worthwhile in her work. But I think I could say the same about the tomato, in the way of everybody can connect to it in some way. But everybody connects to Cecilia Vicuña's work as a group-oriented thing,
Mhm.
whereas when you connect to the tomato, everybody kind of has their own interpretation, their own individuality in there.
Yeah.
And to put that in simpler terms, Cecilia Vicuña is amazing, and the tomato as in the tomato, not the tomato as in the poem, but the tomato
From the poem.
from the poem
Yeah.
is a loser.
Agreed.
Yeah, it can just stay on that windowsill and just
just
stay
rot.
An exemplar
rot
smashed
in
in
the
the gutter,
sun.
as they say.
I mean, give it
Thrown
to
into the
Cecilia,
woods.
and she'll make something out of it.
She
Yeah.
will.
She'll throw it in
She
like
would
the water.
accept the tomato into her fold. And I'd say we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good morning, evening, or afternoon.
I don't know what time
Stay
this is
warm.
gonna
It'll
be
probably be morning if we're listening to this back in the morning. So have a good morning, everyone. I hope you have a great day.